For the first time in probably over 10 years, I'm ready to get a real early start to this cotton crop. Cottonseed going in the ground. After we get these test plots planted anyway. Now, actually, I cheated a little bit. This isn't the first cotton we planted. We actually started last night about 6 o'clock. I didn't do any filming because I'm trying to get the planter set, trying to teach Andy how to run the roller crimper and how I want the plot, and how I want everything crimped the right direction and order the inrows and all that kind of stuff, and just a lot of hectic stuff going on. But we wound up getting about 25 acres planted last night. Let's see, yesterday I think it was May 7th, the earliest I have planted cotton in, I don't know, probably at least 10 plus years. It seems like every year we always get one more cold wet snap, which we call blackberry winter, and it generally comes in usually around the second week of May, and cotton planted right before it, you know, a lot of times you got to replant it, especially in the environment we're planting in, which is high biomass cover crops. And you know, usually it gets out of there usually around the 14th, 15th of May, and then it's a scramble to get all of our cotton planted before the full crop insurance deadline of May 20th. But not this year. We got fantastic conditions, warm. We got hot weather. I mean, it's supposed to get up 86, 87 degrees a day. Soil temperatures 65 plus. Got just enough soil moisture in the soil to get the seed germinated, definitely not excess or anything. I mean, beautiful planting conditions. And for the first time since probably last August, we are actually ahead for once and not behind and running to play catch up. I mean, it seems like ever since we started harvest last year, you know, Zach left us, you know, had a patchwork crew, and it was just a struggle to get our crop harvested in a timely manner. And then, you know, we didn't get Andy hired until mid-December. I was having to pull a lot of double duty. Kelly was too, and just, you know, we got behind on some stuff. And then once we got Andy hired, had a lot of grain to haul, had some problems with that, and just had to play catch up on getting everything during the winter done, getting all our repair work done, and then, you know, trying to train Andy at the same time, which, you know, is definitely going to take some time away from being productive. And it's just been a struggle. And then we had the extremely wet winter and early spring, just wasn't able to get any field work done. And then I'd say probably the last month, maybe 5 weeks, it's just been, we've been under the gun just to get kind of caught back up, get all our field work done. We're late getting started planting our crops due to cool conditions, but we finally got our soybeans planted. We got them planted real early, and we got our corn planted a lot later than what we wanted to. And then normally we have a break between corn, soybeans, and cotton planting, but we finished up corn corn Friday morning, and then got started planting cotton yesterday afternoon, which was Monday. But cotton is going into the ground a full week ahead of last year, and about 8 to 9 days ahead of probably the last 4, 5, 6 years. So I'm ecstatic.
So welcome to cotton planting. We started yesterday and I got 44 acres sprayed. This morning I have 2 small farms to spray, and then I have to go to a 100-acre farm. I'm on my own, so I dropped a truck for myself over at the last farm that I'll be at, and so I can get back here to get the water truck. Hopefully I'll be done by this afternoon, and then I'll either bring the sprayer back here to the farm or I'll leave it out, just depending on what Matt wants to plant next. So that's the plan. I have to get out now and fill up. Yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Same old spraying, and trying not to get in and out of the sprayer. I'm really allergic to these cover crops, and yesterday I can tell it's bothering me a whole lot. So the less I get out of this into the rye and the wheat, the better it is for me. So we're spraying paraquat, and we're also spraying brake, and brake is a herbicide that is used to control pigweeds. So really expensive, so got to be very careful when measuring. And of course I have to get all my special stuff out because that stuff is napalm. I don't want to get it on you. And then I will head to the next farm. Water conditioner to the mix because I guess our pH levels on our water is making the brake stick to the strainer. So we got to add that in there first, and then I have to put the brake in last. So she's ready to go. I'm gonna go spend the next couple hours spraying.
You know, it seems like one of our biggest limiting factors on yield on cotton year in, year out is having enough growing season. You know, moisture can be a limiting factor, but generally getting enough heat units to getting the crop matured out to full maturity, getting maximum yield has always been a struggle. Seems like we're always up against the gun defoliating our crop in the fall. You know, trying to beat the first frost, just giving the crop as much time as possible to put on harvestable fruit. And this extra 7 days that we're getting this year as opposed to normal could really be huge. You know, if you know the way a cotton plant works, when it starts reproductive mode, it will set a bowl on each branch going up the stalk about every 3 days. So from one branch to the next branch, you got about 3 days. So if we got to say an extra 7 days of growing season, that's another 2 1/3 branches up the stalk that we can set fruit that's going to be productive and contribute to yield, which could be huge. You know, last year we actually had great cotton planting weather early. Problem is, we didn't have a tractor to plant with because we were having hydraulic problems with this tractor. It was up in Union City at the dealership getting a new hydraulic pump on, and we lost probably about 5 real good days of planting weather then. We weren't able to get started until I think it's May 14th last year. So really excited about the potential for the cotton crop this year. Fantastic conditions, and plus 7 days earlier than normal. Man, I'm excited. A lot of things still got to go right to really give that new baler picker a workout this year, but at least we're starting off good. That's the key. It's a whole lot easier to start off with a good looking crop than to start off with a poor looking crop and try and make it look good as the year goes on.
Y'all see my friend right there, the turtle? He does not care that I'm over here spraying. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh. There are 6 turtles in there. Look, they're all just staring at me. Sorry, fellas and ladies, for disturbing your peace, but that's funny. He's just like, nope, I do not even care. I'm going to get my son today. So I moved over here to the 95-acre farm. I'm going to spray this bottom field, and then Matt just texted me and said to wait until Andy gets over here. So just gonna hang out with my turtles for a minute and get back to spraying. Usually this is really, really wet. You can see that the cover crop doesn't grow because this is where all the water stays. So this is a farm we took over a couple years ago that this field has been very, very rough, and it's still rough. You can see how tall the rye is, and I've been having some issues with the adaptive lines, and I'm not the only one. Apparently there are a few others that run the exact same system that said that it's been real squirrely. You'll follow the line completely, and yet it'll say like you missed like 20 feet, but you really didn't, because when you look out there you're spraying. I don't even know. John Deere needs to get their crap together. But so far so good, because we've been having problems with this one.
All right, first 43 acres of cotton is in the ground. All right, I wanted to take you out here just a minute and show you exactly what we're planting into. I mean, if you've been watching this channel for a couple years now, this is not going to be any secret to you, so you might want to fast forward through the next several minutes. But for all the viewers that have started watching, you know, since last planting season, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our planting practice into this high biomass cover crop and what it does for us. Now, the reason we're planting into this jungle right here is for a bunch of benefits. I mean, not only are we building soil structure and taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and putting it into the ground to where it can make productive crops, it's also increasing our water storage capacity and our water infiltration whenever we do get storms, which during the summer, you know, we can get a whole lot of rain in a hurry, but if the majority of it runs off down the hill and into the creek, it's not going to do us any good. So by building soil structure, getting all these roots in the ground, we're really promoting when we do get much needed rainfall in the summer, we're getting it infiltrated into the soil where it can then be used by the cash crop rather than running off down the creek carrying soil and nutrients that we paid for. That's not going to be any use to us. And then because of all this cover right here in our hot sunny West Tennessee summers, you know, by shading the soil, we're also preventing a lot of a loss from evaporation from the soil. That way, what water we do have in the soil, if it's going to leave the soil, it has to then go up through the crop that we planted, carrying nutrients and other resources up into the plant, and we're not wasting any moisture that way, just strictly from evaporation. And then the other biggest thing is for weed control. A lot of our annual weeds here in West Tennessee depend on sunlight to reach in the ground to make them germinate. And as you see right there, there's no sunlight getting to the ground right there. Therefore, a lot of our problem weeds, especially Palmer amaranth or pigweed, cannot germinate. Or if they do germinate, it's going to be a lot later in the season when this stuff starts decomposing and allowing sunlight to reach the soil. But then hopefully by that time, our crop is getting close to canopying, and then it will then shade the soil, preventing more sunlight from hitting the soil. Now, back earlier this spring when we were doing our burn down strips, there was a little bit of confusion among several viewers, you know, thinking that, why are you just killing the strips where you're going to plant? Is the cover crop that you got there, is it not going to rob the cash crop of nutrients and water and other stuff? And if this cover crop was still alive and will be growing at the same time that our cotton crop would be, that would be true. But as you can see, we have terminated the cover crop. You can plainly see right here our burn down strips right through there. That's where we spray with our hooded sprayer, and then the cover crop in the middle was allowed to keep on growing and accumulate biomass. Now that we've planted, we have now terminated the rest of the cover crop, and it will then die, and it's not going to be competing whatsoever for water, nutrients, and sunlight from the cotton crop. In fact, all this residue here is just going to be providing benefits to the cotton crop that will be growing. And this, what we call strip kill, offers us all the benefits of having a cover crop, but makes it just as easy to plant into no-till. As you can see here, this is a strip that we planted last night. We got 1/10 of an inch rain last night, but you know, there's very little right there in the row where we planted, and then we set our row cleaners pretty aggressively to move, you know, any of this corn residue and corn root balls out of the way to have a nice clean seed bed. We were running about 25 to 30 psi down pressure on our row cleaners with the clean sweep to really make them aggressive and move a lot of this corn residue out of the way. But as you can see, I mean, we've got a perfect seed bed right here, and this is a whole lot better than strip till, which a lot of producers use, in that we're still planting into a no-till environment, and we're minimizing how much soil structure we're damaging by the planter unit coming through here. We're not tilling up a band with regular tillage and then leaving the middles undisturbed like you do with strip till. And I've had quite a few producers ask me, well, what about right here in this band where you burnt down, since you don't have a lot of residue there? Do you have problems with the weeds coming up right there in the bands while the middles are clean? And logically, you'd think so, but in reality, we really haven't seen very much problem whatsoever. Now, our practice is that Kelly comes in here and sprays everything first. She's spraying paraquat and she's spraying brake. Paraquat to help kill the cover crop, because the crimper will not give us a 100% kill on this, because we have annual ryegrass in the mix, and you see a lot of that's still sticking up. That's annual ryegrass that it just doesn't crimp all that well, and a crimper will not kill it. So we have to add in paraquat or gramoxone as an added herbicide to help promote killing the annual ryegrass. And then the brake herbicide, it doesn't offer any kind of benefits of killing what's out here, but it's an excellent residual herbicide to keep other weeds coming up. And if it weren't for Palmer amaranth being such a pain in our rears, we could probably eliminate that. And in years, we have eliminated that and gotten real good initial weed control just strictly from the cover crop. But with the adding of the brake in there, you know, we've got a good layer of residual right here in our strips where the majority of the chemical was reaching down to the soil, and helps provide us really good early season weed control. Well, in reality, all season weed control. So now that we've sprayed out here and run the crimper, you know, all of this cover crop is going to die. There's not going to be anything out here competing with the cotton crop whenever it does come up. Let's walk over here and look at a seed trench and seed placement, make sure we're still putting it where we want it. All right, here's some that we planted this morning. And as you can see, we got a real nice bare strip to dig in and find seed. All right, there's one right there. There's another one right there. And then there's a third one. All right, I left my ruler in the tractor, but that's about the first knuckle deep. So that's about between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch deep. This one right here was just a hair shallower. And there's another one that was about 1/2 to 3/4 inch deep, which for us is perfect. You know, traditionally we want to plant cotton just as shallow as possible. I mean, just barely get it covered with soil, because cotton is a huge sissy about coming up, especially if you get into semi-poor conditions, which we're not going to have this year. But the primary reason in a no-till or conventional till environment, you're worried about, you know, with these 80+ degree days, maybe some wind, with all that crust in the ground over, and then the cotton not being able to break through that crust because it's such a weak plant initially. But in our environment with our soil structure, you know, soil crusting is one thing we don't have to worry about. So I feel confident just putting the seed just a little bit deeper in the ground. You know, normally a 1/2 inch is about as deep as you want to go with cotton in a no-till or conventional till environment, but I don't have a problem going, you know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch deep if I need to go a little bit deeper to chase moisture, which we don't. So we've got it between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch deep on setting, which should give us outstanding germination. That should give us an outstanding stand, unless we do encounter weather problems in the next 5 to 7 days, which I don't think we do. The forecast is not for that. So I'm feeling really awesome right now about what we're planting into. Got great biomass, going to give us some good benefits, especially on weed control. But as you can see there, I mean, we got a nice strip that's just as easy to plant into as no-till. So hopefully after that explanation, that clears up any kind of misunderstandings about our cropping practices, and you know what we're trying to accomplish here, what our goals are, and how we're trying to achieve them, and the logic behind everything what we do. You see right over here, got an orange flag. That's where our University of Tennessee cotton variety trials ended. Now the rest of this farm is another big trial for me. Back in corn planting, I talked to you about using Micro-Knock and how it's done fantastic things for our corn yield, but I hadn't seen any benefits in our other crops. Well, I really only tested it 1 year in our other crops, so we had some extra Micro-Knock left over from corn planting, so I decided we're going to make the rest of this farm, about 25 acres, another replicated trial. I put Micro-Knock in on one side of the planter and then left the other side of the planter empty, so you got 6 rows and 6 rows. And then the way we're planting this field, you know, basically we're going to have 12 rows untreated, 12 rows treated, 12 rows untreated, all the way across this field. So we've got a really nice big test plot here. It's going to be scientific because it's going to be replicated, and then we're going to harvest this, you know, right after we do the UT variety trials. So we'll have the scales out here to weigh the modules that come off of it and determine if, in fact, Micro-Knock can provide us some benefit on cotton. So I got hopes that it will, even though in the past haven't seen any. You know, we're doing a lot larger test plot this year, and we'll see what the data turns out to be come October. All right, since we just got done with the plots, we need to fill up with seed. We just put in 4 bags yesterday to plant all this field except for the plots. And now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and load those suckers up and roll on. But anyway, our first variety of the year is Phytogen 360 W3FE. This is an enlist variety. And last year, this was our top yielder. In some of the best spots of the field, we were 2,000 plus pounds per acre with this variety, and it's a beautiful variety too. Nice and fluffy, real showy, real good variety. It got really good early season emergence. It's got a little bit bigger seed than what your Delta Pine varieties do. And while our soil temperatures are still warming up a little bit, this is a really good variety to start off with and make sure this stuff comes up out of the ground blowing and going. So each one of these bags right here is over $600. 230,000 seeds per bag. We're planting at a rate of 37,000 seeds per acre, which comes out to what, 6.2 acres per bag. So you know, right around $100 per acre for this seed cost. You know, we used to get about 5 acres per bag on this seed, but as seed costs continually went up, we've been cutting our seeding rates, just trying to stretch these bags as far as possible and keep our seeding costs per acre reasonable. But even still, you know, used to we like to keep it around $80 per acre. Now we're up around $100 per acre. 5 years from now, are we going to be at $120 per acre? I mean, where do these seed costs end? I don't know. But anyway, that's what we got to deal with. Get these bags in the planter and get on to the next farm. Woo! I ain't quite ready for this weather yet. 2 days of sweating. Bring back winter. All right, got everything loaded up. You got 19 bags in here. You're looking at about $11,500 worth of seed right here. Should get over close to 120 acres, be the rest of the day. We're losing some DD60s. Let's get some more seed in the ground.
All right, we gotta find our little flag here. I don't know if y'all can see it or not, but there's a little orange flag right there. And that's keeping me out, keeping my line, keeping my rows straight. All right, we see our little orange flag. We're pretty lined up with the rows here. Now time to unfold it. Yeah, see, if that little orange flag wasn't there, I would think I'm on that very last row, but there's actually 2 on the other side of this cover crop. But I just can't see. And it does look like we're still off a little bit. up right there. Sure are lots of butterflies and bees and birds in this cover crop. That's what I'd like to see though. Keep on pollinating, little guys and girls.
Alright, so I had to stop because I had 2 tips that weren't spraying right. To show you how tall this cover or this rye is. And hopefully I don't get bad. But I was walking out here and this giant turkey just takes off. And I walk over here and jackpot! Look how many turkey eggs. So I'm gonna call my son and have him come over and get them.
Just got notice that there's a group of buyers there at my shop. Just arrived to look at my cotton picker. Here's the kicker though. These buyers are not local. They're all the way from the Ukraine, Russia, all those bloc states over in Europe. And they're in the market to buy, I don't know, something like 16, 18 cotton pickers.